Let's start a podcast about our mental health. For no good reason why, let's call it Mind Cake.
All right, everybody, and welcome to another slice of Mind Cake.
Mind Cake.
With him,
Lee Crompton. And him.
Paul Beeson.
Do you not look at the screen now so that you can't be put off by my funny face?
Partly. Just fed up looking at you.
I was that engrossed in my funny face. What was today's, I was going to say, accent?
I just said, all right.
Right, what's that?
Just keeping it Scottish because it's the opening game of the Euros tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. How are you feeling about that, Paul?
I'm quietly confident.
Are you?
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
I'm ever the optimist.
Mm.
My head says we're going to get pumped. My heart says we're going to squeak to a 1-0 victory.
I mean, if you're going to play Germany, probably best you play them the opening game.
Yeah.
When it's all fresh. I mean, there has been some upsets, hasn't there? I'm thinking back to Ireland and Italy. Was it Cameroon beat Argentina in the opening game of the World Cup once as well?
Was that the era of Roger Miller?
Roger
dancing in
Miller.
the corner, dancing in the corner flag and stuff.
That's
Yeah,
him.
when was that? Was that Italia 90? That was a long time ago, wasn't it?
Because I think we beat them on penalties. In the quarters, Cameroon?
I can't remember.
Well, you wouldn't remember, no. I mean, anyway. How have you been, you ruggy rascal?
I've been all right. Yeah. What have I been doing? I finished my play that I was doing. And this week I've mostly been writing our new play that's going to happen in the summer. So I've kind of, made a start on that. And I've got back into doing the rugs.
Of course.
Just one.
Just one rug.
One little ruggy expedition today. But yeah.
You said it was an emergency. What possibly could constitute a rug emergency?
I mean, I say emergency. Just someone, in fact, there was 2 people that needed rugs picked up ASAP because
a cat had peed on them.
Well, I don't know. No. They need cleaned quickly, and they needed picked up quickly because they're not going to be around for the next little while. So it had to kind of be today or tomorrow. So I went and did it today.
God, some people,
So
that's the priority. God,
if gotta get the rugs cleaned.
Picked up tomorrow. A rug. I'd love to have that lifestyle where that's my biggest concern.
Yeah, got to get the rugs cleaned first.
Got to get the rugs cleaned now.
Because, I've got a magic money tree in the garden.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, how's you?
Yeah, fine, mate. Sorry, it's just a couple of things I need to pick up on there. When you say you're writing the next show, this isn't Robert Moore Part 2.
No.
This football is related.
This is our new show at Tynecastle Park in the summer. It's called This Is Our Story, and it's to tie in with the 150th anniversary of Hearts of Midlothian Football Club.
Oh,
so
okay.
Tell the history of the club in 90 minutes, in a 90-minute show.
Oh, that sounds like something I could take the piss out of, so that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, no, that's good. Nothing too heavy. And talking of piss, I should put a spoiler out, not a spoiler, a warning that if you are offended by potty-mouthed Australians, then you probably should turn off now.
We're going to have to change the clean thing to explicit.
Oh, I am going to have to put it on, not X-rated, it's not, but yeah. Cam Cooney is a fine fellow.
Mm-hmm.
He does swear like a docker.
A lot of Aussies do, though.
A lot of Aussies do. I don't know if that's racist, but a lot of them do. It's like a shrugging. It's, do you know what? I was going to use the bleep machine, and there was that many of them, it fucking broke.
Oh, you get to swear now because it's explicit.
Yeah, it's what we like now.
Ah, fucking brilliant. Hey.
So, yes, lots to talk about post Cam. Yes, he's a very fine fellow, very interesting story, and I think you'll get a lot from this, Paul. Shall we delve in?
Let's delve right in.
Hello, Mind Cakers, and welcome to another slice of Mind Cake, where this week we are joined by Cam Cooney. Hello, Cam.
G'day, mates. How are you? Recording this in the studio next door, and yeah, it's good to be here, mate. Thank you for welcoming me on.
We obviously know each other from old. I can't believe it's been 2 years since I was here seeing you. Do you want to tell people who don't know who Cam Cooney is, who you are and what you do?
So, obviously my name is Cam. I'm a meditation teacher here in Glasgow. I'm not originally from Glasgow. I'm originally from Australia.
Really?
Yeah. Did you not know that?
I didn't.
Did you not? Unbelievable. I thought you definitely knew that.
I think I said from the accent.
Yeah. So, I've been in the UK now for 9 years. Been in Glasgow for 5 years. And yeah, I've been a meditation teacher for 5 years as well. Give you a little bit of background into how I came across meditation, because it's not a normal day-to-day job. It's not the norm. So I came across meditation when I was 19, when I was actually going through rehab for a broken back. To give you a little bit of a insight to who I was before I broke my back and how I came across meditation. When I was a teenager, I was quite an erratic and anxious teenager. I left school pretty early. I started going part-time at school when I was 14. Started a school-based apprenticeship and was working a couple of days on the building sites and a couple of days at school, and I really hated school. I was really anxious. I really didn't enjoy it in any front at all. And when I was 16, I had left school full-time and started working as a tradesman. And I started working on building sites full-time. When I left, I was already, as I said, a very anxious and erratic teenager, so I started smoking weed, and that massively helped my anxiety and my anger issues and my erraticness, even if that's a word, I'm not too sure. But yeah, I started smoking, and it became like a weekend thing. Then I started smoking by myself. It became like a couple times a week. Then it naturally became every night. It became, as soon as I finished work, I would go out to my bedroom and smoke bongs and just knock myself out. And that was how I got to sleep. Helped me sleep, wake up the next day, go to work. As soon as I finish work, crack on again. Then it became, the weekends became doing Class A drugs. And that quickly just accelerated my drug taking. And I was going to a pretty dark corner pretty quickly with that. Then it started becoming during the week as well, which was not good. And when I was 19, I was working on a roof one morning, and I remember it so clearly. It was like a bit of a dewy sort of morning, and I really didn't want to be at the job. The people that I was actually doing the job for, obviously I was working for a company, the owners of the building that we were working in actually knew my family. I played football with with some people in my family. So I remember being on their roof, and the guy I was working with, he was like to me, "Oh, we need some extra tools. Can you go to the van and get them?" Being the apprentice, that was like my shitty job to, and I remember walking across the top of the roof, just a bit fucking, shoulders slumped sort of thing. And I was the one that set up the ladder, right? And I'd set the ladder up 10 minutes early, and we both went up it. I remember when I set it up, it was a bit shaky, and I remember shaking it and going, fuck, I've walked up worse than that. So when I was the first one to come down it, and I stepped across the roof onto the top of the ladder, and it was an extension ladder, so it went past the gutter. And as I stepped around onto the top of the ladder and put my full weight onto it, the ladder at the bottom slipped, and I fell with the ladder. And it all happened in a very quick split second. I can visualize it, and I can remember it in my mind like it was like took an age to fall. And as I fell, I tried to catch the gutter, and the gutter, like I caught it with my fingers, just kind of swung my momentum a little bit, and my legs kind of swung from underneath me, and I fell onto hard concrete on the driveway on my bum, and I crushed my L1 vertebrae in my back. And the way I kind of landed, I kind of went on an angle, and I can, even talking about it, I can hear the crack ripple through my spine, and as I hit the floor, I fell over, the ladder fell, everything. And the next couple of hours are a big blur for me, because I was obviously in a state of shock. The moments after that, it was blurry, but there was actually someone across the road who was delivering Avon. and it was a guy, and I've never seen this guy's face, right? And this guy, he'd seen the whole situation. He sprinted over, and I remember his voice so clearly. And he's like to me, I'm a trained first aider. You've broken your back. Like, stay where you are. Do not move. And if it wasn't for him, I could have been a lot more fucked up right now. And he was like to me, do not move, do not move, do not move. The guy I was working with, he obviously couldn't come down because the ladder had fallen, so he's standing on top of the roof. The people who owned the building, the house, they came rushing out because they'd heard everything. All the neighbors around in the rest of the street had heard the ladder crash and stuff. And they obviously immediately called an ambulance. And the ambulance came out. Again, it's a big blur for me. I don't remember literally any of that. I remember little glimmers of it. I was obviously in a state of shock. The ambulance came out, gave me the green whistle, which obviously just knocked me out even more. And the next thing I remember is my dad being there, my boss being there, some other guys that were working on a building site nearby had come by as well. So there was a bunch of people around me. And still, I remember this guy's voice, the Avon guy. And from what I heard, he was a bit of a character, right. Painted fingernails, sort of just long hair, just a kind of interesting kind of character. Again, I've never seen him, but I know his voice. And I remember talking to him months later on the phone and thanking him for his help, because what ended up happening after that is the ambulance took me to the hospital. Vividly remember that, the blue lights being on, the sound, the sirens. Next moment I remember is being in the hospital, having about 10 nurses around me, poking and prodding me, hooking me up to all sorts of different gadgets, the whole neck brace thing on, my feet constantly getting poked and prod, and like ask questions. Can you feel this? Can you feel that? Can you do this? Can you do that? A couple of hours later, when I started to come back around to it, I was going through for scans and all the rest of it. And from once everything had kind of settled down, and doctors came back to me, and the doctor's like, right, you've crushed your L1 vertebrae in your lower back. At the moment, we're not too sure what's going on, but we need to keep doing scans. We're going to do some more scans tomorrow. And I was in hospital for 3 days, and I was just getting scans constantly. And from what the doctor said, I was 3 millimeters away from being paralyzed from the hips down. And that was an incredibly fucking massive wake-up call for me. And I remember it very clearly when the doctor came in, and he was like, it's like the fucking classic, when you see it on TV, someone's in hospital, it's like a serious chat. It's like the doctor comes in and pulls the curtains away and everybody else has to be quiet. It was exactly like that. And as soon as he pulled the curtain, I was like, this is a serious chat. And he's like to me, how old are you? And I'm like, I'm 19. He's like, what do you do? And I'm like, I'm a builder, sort of, apprentice, and I work on building sites. And he's like, okay, you're not going to be doing that again. And I'm like, huh? And I'm like, a 19-year-old, stubborn as anything. He goes, do you play any sports? I'm like, I play football. And he's like, okay, who do you play for? And how often do you play? And I'm like, 4 or 5 times a week. And he's like, no, you won't be doing that again. And I'm like, no, I will. And he's like, mate, believe me, if you want to be in a wheelchair when you're 30, continue doing what you're doing, right? If you don't want to be in a wheelchair when you're, even talking about that, I'm getting goosebumps because I remember it so clearly. If you don't want to be in a wheelchair, give up those things now and change your life, because you're going to need it. And I remember just hearing that and just being like, what on earth? And he left, and being a stubborn 19-year-old, I was like, no, I'm not listening to that. Like, I'll be fine. I'm, I can do what I want to do. This isn't going to define me. And I was just being stubborn. And that night, when all my family and all that who'd been visiting had gone home, there was a big moment for me in that period where I needed to go to the toilet. And the nurses, who are absolute angels, came over to me, and I'm like, I need to go to the toilet. Like, I need to do a number 2. And they were like, you can't move from the bed. You can't move from the bed. I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do? And they're like, just do it and we'll clean you up. And I'm like, no. Like, and I remember it so clearly. It's like 10 o'clock at night, and I'm like, fucking hell, man, I can't do that. And the poor nurse lady, she was like to me, she's like, if you can hold on for another few hours, when the other doctor goes, I'll get you in the sling, I'll get you into the chair, and I'll roll you over to the toilet. She goes, but you're not to tell anyone. And I'm like, that could have really fucked me up as well. Do you know what I mean? Really badly, because at this point we still didn't really know how the injury was going to pan out. Yeah. And she did. She got me into this thing, and she was like, she rolled me over to the toilet. And I remember that lady, and her name was Anne. And I just remember being like, what an angel, and that was a huge moment for me, because I was like, the nurse was just like, just shit yourself, and that's going to be, and that could be the reality for you for the rest of your life, exactly. And then on my last day, they were like, right, we're going to get you out of bed. We're going to get you in a walking frame. We're going to get you walking again. And I started, building up the strength to walk again. Got taken home. Spent the next sort of 2 weeks on a mattress in the living room and bought a PlayStation, and I just played FIFA, and that was high on, like, you know, all the strongest drugs you could possibly get, codeine. I spent the next 6 months in rehab, learning to build up my strength again, learning to walk again, learning to do the mundane tasks of bending over. I think it was 12 weeks, I wasn't allowed to pick up anything over 2 kilograms. And obviously in that period, I lost a lot of muscle mass. I didn't have much, to be honest with you. The fucking best of it, I was 19 scrawny-year-old fucking drug taker, you know. So so the next 6 months really set me in a really dark period. I wasn't able to go out and do all the drinking drugs that I did with all my mates on the weekends. They were still going out and doing that, so I started to feel like a little bit of a divide from my mates. Like I was missing out on things. When I did catch up with them, they had inside jokes that I was missing out on because they'd been out on the weekends. I had my girlfriend at that point, my ex-girlfriend, and even our relationship was strained because I couldn't even do half the things, you know. You can put 2 and 2 together there when I say that, right? Yeah, it was a difficult period, and the anxiety and the anger and the erratic nature really bubbled to the surface and festered there. And when I tried to go back at 5 months back to work, the doctor was like, okay, we're going to try you to go back full time. And when I went back to work, I was back for 3 days, and it was like it didn't work. Like I was just like, I'm fucked. So they gave me another 4 weeks, another month. So it ended up 6 months in total off work. And even when I went back after that, when I given the all clear to go back on light duties at that point, I was just doing courier driving for the business, and I'd been back for 3 days, finding it very, very overwhelming. I was erratic mess, and I was driving to a job. And the job was, the GPS was directing me there, and as I was driving there, the GPS was telling me to turn left in the traffic, and I couldn't turn left in the traffic. And as I missed that turn off and continued going straight, the GPS started to kind of recalibrate and was like, turn right, turn left, turn right, turn left, turn right. And I just fucking exploded, and I hit the fucking roof, and like I was physically sick. I was hyperventilating, I was shaking, I was crying, and it was all the emotions that I'd obviously been suppressing for so long with the drink and drugs and the weed and everything else bubbled up to the surface and just expressed themselves all at once. And I pulled over to the side of the road, and I remember in Adelaide, South Australia, Norwood Parade was just off that. And pulled over to the side of the road, sat there and just, you know, coming, just exploding. I was there for about 90 minutes, and I started to kind of come down. And when I got back in my car, I just drove straight back to my office, and I went into my boss's office. And luckily for me, my boss was my football coach and also my long-term family friend. So he knew me quite personally. And I just come into his office. I was like, "Can I chat to you?" And he was like, "Yeah, sure." And he could see that something was up. And as soon as he sat down, I'm opposite him. And I just fucking broke down. And I'm just like, I fucking don't know what to do. I says, I don't know where to fucking turn. I says, I can't sit still. I says, I feel like a fucking mess. I feel like a fraud. I don't know where the fuck I'm going. I don't know what the fuck is happening to me. And he was just like, right, calm down, right? Like, you know, it's okay. You've been through a lot. He goes, don't worry about going back to work. What I want you to do is I want you to go straight to your doctor, okay? Go to your doctor from here, okay? Don't worry about work. You're a fucking mess at the moment, right? You need to sort yourself out. He's like, everything will be okay. And I left there, went straight to my doctor. And I remember booking in for my doctor, and I had to sit there 45 minutes. I remember sitting there, fucking leg was bouncing, biting my nails, fucking jittery mess. And I went into my doctor, and my doctor was like, he was just absent to what I was saying, you know. And I came in and I sat opposite him. He's like, what's up? You know, clicking and clacking on his computer. What's wrong? And I was just like, you know, I just said all the same things I'd said to my boss. Yeah. Breaking down, I don't know what to do. And he just went, okay, what are you feeling? I was like, mate, I'm feeling fucking everything. I'm all over the shop. I don't know what to do. I said, where am I going? And he's just like, okay, well, we know you've broken your back. You know, we've got anxiety. We know we've got issues with that. We know we've got past of some anger issues as well. It seems like you're suffering a little bit of a bout of depression at the moment because of, you know, understandably what you're going through. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay. And he's just like, what I'll do is I'll prescribe you some antidepressants. And personally for me, I'd seen the nasty side effect of antidepressants from a young age and someone very close to me and somebody that I love. And I was always like, I don't want to touch those. Mm-hmm. And that it upset me that was his alternative. Like, he didn't really want to kind of listen to me. There was no other alternative. It was just, that was it. And that'll help. And I went home and I remember sitting on the edge of my bed, just breaking down, just being like, I don't know what the fuck to do. I don't know where I'm going. And I went onto Google and I Googled things to do to be happier, or how to be happier, or something along those lines. And Google came up with a top 10 list of things to do to be happier in 2013. And I thought, fuck, click on it. Probably like the 10th article I'd clicked on, right? I'm skimming through it, and it's like, drink more water, eat your green vegetables, hang out with your mates, listen to music, exercise, go to the beach, all the classics, right? And number 8 on the list was meditate. Now, as a 19-year-old who took a shit ton of drinking drugs and played football and worked on building sites, I had a very, very instant stereotype of what meditation was, and that was bald head, orange robe, sitting there like fucking big Buddha belly. And I thought, you know what, fuck it, what have I literally got to lose? So I then searched for meditation classes, and I found one starting the next night. And it was about 45 minutes away from where I lived, and it was a Kadampa Buddhist meditation class. And I didn't tell anybody I was going there because I was worried about what people would think of me going there, especially my family and friends. And I went to it, and I parked at the front door. And when I came in through the front door, I came in and sat at the chair closest to the exit. And I was like, if this gets fucking weird, I'm fucking legging it, right? And I came in, and it was a Kadampa Buddhist meditation class. So it was a lady, she had a bald head, orange saffron robes, right? She comes in, she's like, do you want some herbal tea? And I was like, of course, I've never had a fucking herbal tea in my life. Like, what is this? Here's some home-baked cookies that we've made. And I'm like, what the fucking hippie shit is this, right? I remember sitting at back row. There's about 2 or 3 empty rows in front of me, and then 2 rows of people who obviously came regularly, and they were all chatting and happy and everything. And I was like, in the back corner, fucking legs bouncing, twitching, biting my nails, everything. Could not fucking sit still. And when the meditation actually started, and she was like, cool, close her eyes now, and she took me through the guided meditation, all of us, 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes later, I have no idea how long it was. When she was like, okay, we can open our eyes now, I was a completely different fucking version of myself. Completely different version. For the first time in a very, very, very long time, I was still in a chair. I was comfortable in my own skin. I had a smile on my fucking face. And I remember coming out of that and going, what the fuck is this? I feel like I've hit a joint without the haziness. I feel like that softness within my body. And I stayed around for the rest of the class, and I remember leaving, and I got in my car, and I drove away with a smile on my face. And as I said, it was 45 minutes away from where I used to live, and I used to get speeding fines and red lights all the fucking time. All my family had taken points for me, right? And I drove home, and when it got to the turn off to go up to my road closer to my house, I realized I was driving behind a learner plater the majority of the way. And I was like, wait, what the fuck? I was like, this is obviously hit me like some way. And I got home, and I used to live in a granny flat out the back of our house. And as I came through the front door, I'd always storm out through the back door, out to my granny flat, not say anything to my family. And I came in, and I turned left, and I sat in the lounge room with my family, who sat there every single night. And I remember my mum just kind of like turning and looking at me, my stepdad turning and looking at me, and my mum going, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm pretty good. And then my sister kind of perked her ears up and was like, they all kind of noticed it in me straight away, like the presence shift in me. And I've been at meditation class, and they were like, amazing. Like, what, how was it? And I was like, it was really good. I feel really good. I slept amazing that night. I didn't smoke anything. I went home and I was like, wow. Woke up the next day. I felt refreshed. Meditated again, and I continued meditating daily for a couple of weeks. And I wasn't telling anybody I was doing it. And it was about the 3-week later mark, and guys on the building site who I probably had difficult relationships with. One in particular, I remember him so well, Jason, and he used to rub me up the fucking wrong way all the time, right? And he knew it pissed me off, right? And it was around that 3-week later mark when Jason came up to me and he goes, mate, what are you doing at the moment? And I was like, what do you mean? And he goes, you haven't bitten at anything I've fucking wound you up at recently. Like, he goes, you are always so easy to wind up. Like, I'd literally just have to poke you and you're fucking off, and that's it. And he goes, and I just have a laugh. And he did. He was like that. And it really, fucking big time. And he knew it used to piss me off. And he got a kick out of that. And obviously I wasn't biting. And I was so much happy. And he goes, mate, you've got an extra spring in your step. You got a smile on your face. You're coming in here on time. Your shoulders are up. He says, you're just vibing. Like, what's going on? And for this guy, like, I did not get along with him, even outside of the, like, you know, trying to wind me up. I didn't like him. And all of a sudden, him saying that to me was like a big moment where I just kind of went, oh, fuck. Yeah, this is obviously fucking working, and other people are noticing it in me. And I said to him, I've been doing meditation. And he was like, yeah? Okay, interesting. Fair play, mate. And as I said, I continued meditating daily. It was about a week later, I actually became redundant in my job. The business was starting to go a little bit bust, and well, not bust. It was starting to, you know, they were cutting costs as such, and they got rid of about 16 guys on the building site, and I was the last of 16 guys to go. And I never thought I would be the one to go because I was family friends with the bosses, football coach, you know, just spent 6 months in rehab. They wouldn't do that to me, and when they did it, I was like, what the fuck do I do? And I tried applying for other jobs and whatever else. And no other building site would hire me because I was a 19-year-old, just spent 6 months in rehab with a dodgy back. Like, that's just a fucking big red flag, you know? So I ended up working with another uncle who just kind of put me up for a little bit for some work, and ended up selling everything I owned. My car, my tools, my PlayStation, my clothes, everything. And I ended up buying a one-way ticket to the UK. And I wanted to go backpacking. I wanted to go watch football. I wanted to go and do the things. I thought, this is the break that I need. This is my opportunity. So I did that and started backpacking, and I was dabbling in meditation, just doing courses and classes and retreats, just where I could, you know. Some point amongst that, I came across Vedic meditation, which is the style of meditation that I teach now. Very shortly after that, I thought, why don't I become a teacher? So I went through a very intensive 3 years of teacher training, became qualified in 2019, and very shortly after that, I came to Glasgow.
Where did you do your 3 years of training?
The 3 years that I did, so it was the first 2.5 years was down south in London, and then my last 3.5 months was in Indonesia, meditating up to 15 hours a day every day, and I went through a very intensive training within that. So that 3 years, my first 18 months, I was meditating about 3 hours a day, doing intensive retreats, and every month. Then the next year was up to 6 hours a day, and then the final 3.5 months was 15 hours a day, and given that very particular bunch, of mantras and trained within that from my teacher. So yeah, after when I got the final ticket and I came back to the UK, I was going to go back to London with a few other guys and set up a big teaching sort of business, you could kind of say. There was a lot of us that were going to do it, and at the last minute I was kind of like, nah, intuitively this isn't the right step. My mum's actually Glaswegian, so that's my connection to Glasgow. She still lives in Australia, but so I've got a granddad here and I've got a couple of uncles here. Right. So I came up to Glasgow and I was couch surfing with one of my uncles, and I was kind of like, I don't know what the fuck to do, you know, I haven't saved money to kind of like, you know, set up in another city again. And I think I had about £170 to my name at that point, and I was like, fuck it, I'll start teaching in Glasgow. I'll just start, you know, and then 6 months later I'll go to Edinburgh, and then 6 months later I'll go to Belfast, and then I'll go to Dublin, and then I'll just keep traveling. 5 years later I'm still in Glasgow. So it's been a very cool and wicked journey to getting here as such. So yeah,
that is an amazing story, and to hear you tell it like that, I only knew bits of it, and to hear you put it all together like that, because I mean that is quite a step to go from, shall we say, angsty teenager at 19 to go, do you know what? I think I'm going to get into meditation. That is quite a leap. And you talk about, is it pronounced Vedic meditation? Do you want to tell us what, because I suppose the preconception in many circles of meditation is, like you've said, people sat around in orange robes saying Om and trying to think of nothing. So what is Vedic meditation? How does that differ from other forms of meditation?
So that is a very common question. What is a Vedic meditation? So when it comes to meditation, this is what I first say to a beginner or someone's going to reach out to me. The best way to look at meditation is like a ginormous tree. Right? Now, if you stood at the foot of this ginormous tree at the trunk, the main trunk, and looked up the main trunk, there's hundreds of thousands of branches, and some branches are kind of like, you know, branches of branches and branches of branches. And some are quite jagged and broken and maybe forceful, and some maybe catch the wind and grow in through the wind. They're very soft, smooth, and elegant to look at. But every single branch, in its own individual way, makes its one way back into that main trunk. This is the same for meditation. There is hundreds of thousands of meditation techniques out there. People saying meditation techniques to me all the time, and I'm like, I've never heard of it, right? And you can look at it in the same way as a tree, right? Some meditation techniques are quite rigorous and hard to do and forceful, and some are quite soft, smooth, and effortless. But every single meditation technique is striving for the same thing, to access that state of stillness and fulfillment internally. They just have their own unique individual ways of getting there. Some are a little bit longer than others, some are a bit more softer and smoother than the others, but they all make their one way back into that one main trunk. When it comes to Vedic meditation, it's one of the very soft, smooth, and effortless styles of meditation. And what happens when a student comes to me to learn Vedic meditation is I give them their own personalized mantra.
Can I just say, I still remember mine from 2 years ago.
Good. Have you been meditating though?
On and off.
On and off. So yeah, when a student comes to me to learn Vedic meditation, I give them their own personalized mantra. And this personalized mantra is purely just a little sound, and they never vocalize this. They never write it down. They never share it with anybody. They always keep it internalized. And the word mantra is a Sanskrit word, and it translates as man, mind, tra, tool. So it's a mind tool to help us go from the surface level, very active point of our mind, into this deeper, much more relaxed state of consciousness. And what happens when they go into their meditation with their eyes closed, using their internal voice, they just very softly, very gently repeat that to themselves. And it creates this kind of expansive and very fulfilling space of consciousness within themselves, which is incredibly beneficial for us to have, because when you start to establish that within yourself, that's when the kind of subtle but substantially fundamental shifts start to happen in people's lives as a result of meditation, is because they stop looking outwardly for fulfillment and these sorts of things, because they've got it internally. And yeah, it's an incredibly beneficial and powerful meditation technique to do.
One of the things, I mean, I know when I came and did the course with you, I wasn't entirely sure what to expect. And I suppose people come in with different expectations. Do you want to talk a bit about, I suppose what I'm trying to say is, some people, you know, am I trying to think of nothing? Am I trying to visualize colors? What can people expect if they were to come and do a course with you?
It's a very, very good question, because a lot of people come to learn meditation with lots of different expectations, you know. Predominantly, if we went on Google right now and put in meditation Glasgow, meditation Scotland, or meditation in general, I can guarantee first page of Google is going to be meditation for stress, meditation for anxiety, meditation for sleep, meditation for depression. There'll be meditation for fucking everything. And what we have married in the West is that meditation is very much like a tool to help with these sorts of things. But meditation's been around for thousands of years, and it derives from the East. And the East is about something completely different. It's about developing a higher state of consciousness, a higher state of awareness, a state of fulfillment internally, right? So when people come to learn meditation with me, predominantly 90% of the people who come through my doors are coming because they're stressed, they're anxious, and they can't sleep. And that's their kind of goal with it. When it comes to actually sitting in meditation, this is where the kind of myths kind of come into it, and the kind of, like you say, misconceptions or lack of understanding, right? Because the most classic thing that people think as a beginner, that when it comes to meditation, is they need to clear their mind, they need to stop their thoughts. Now, I'm going to tell you now, you're never going to stop your thoughts, right? The only time your thoughts are going to stop is when you're fucking unconscious or you're dead, right? So when it comes to that is, everybody's experience is going to be vastly different. Every single meditation is going to be different. No two meditations are exactly the same. The best way I can probably describe it is, some meditations will be very deep and experiential and maybe quite visual, or maybe kind of sensory, and the body feeling really heavy or really light, the mind slowing down, maybe drifting off into kind of like processing, like almost like a dream state. Some meditations would be quite surface level, and you'd be quite aware and quite active. And some meditations would be like kind of halfway between that. There's a lot of other things that can kind of happen. But when it comes for beginners, the first thing I was going to say to them as well was like, look at meditation as like exercising, right? When you go to the gym, there's some weeks and some sessions that you do and you're fucking throwing the weights around. You're like, I'm smashing this. But then you come back next week, try and lift up the same weight, and you can't pick it up, and you're like, what's going on here? There's so many varying things that are like factoring into that: your food intake, your water intake, your sleep intake, your stress levels, etc., etc. And that's exactly the same for the meditation. Meditation is a mental exercise, and we're strengthening the mental muscle, which is our minds. We don't meditate for the things that happen in meditation. We meditate to have that clarity and that kind of like clear mind nature outside in our day-to-day. So what happens is when people start to meditate is they initially come out of their meditation. For the first minute, maybe 2 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, they have this kind of feeling that I was experiencing before. When I said my first meditation, I was comfortable in my own skin, I was still in my chair. This is what we call the afterglow. But that begins to wear off. But the more and more you meditate, this afterglow becomes longer and longer and longer to the point it becomes your everyday feeling. So that is essentially what people I don't like to use the word should and shouldn't, but that's what people should expect to have as a result of meditation.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting because, like I say, I try to come in very open-minded, and it's interesting that you say there are some times when because I remember when you saying, well, you might see colours, or you might, I'm like, what a lot of shit. And I meditated, and sometimes nothing happens. But I think the thing is, because I was gifted the voucher to come and see you after, things that I talk about too much on this podcast already. And I came with an open mind. You were highly recommended, and I thought, if nothing else, because I feel that I've a very busy mind. I'm always active. I don't like sleep very much because I think that's time that I could be spent doing something else. Things have changed recently, so I think even the act of like, just go, and even if you're sat still for 10, 15, 20 minutes, that has got to have a beneficial effect. And yeah, so the first time I came here, I remember I was sat still. I remember saying, how long was that? Thinking it was probably 2, 3, 4 minutes. And you went, that's been 20 minutes. And I'm like, bullshit. And I looked at my watch and gone, oh yeah. Yeah, that's been 20 minutes. I've sat still for 20 minutes. And then you went on about seeing colours, and I'm again going, yeah, okay. And I did. And I remember that was one of the sessions here, one of the first times I'd done it. I mean, probably only the third or fourth time we've done it. And I remember seeing it was almost like watching a kaleidoscope. And then, like you say, I've done that subsequently, and sometimes nothing happens. Yeah. And I think, like you say, you've got to, it's like anything. If you I'm trying to get back into running. Yeah. If you run 2 or 3 times a week and then don't run for a fortnight, you're gonna go backwards. So I guess it's the same where you need to practice, you need to have that consistency. And yeah, I think, it's brought a lot of memories back coming back here and seeing you. Yeah, I'm gonna try and there we go. I will keep up on the podcast my journey into meditation, even if it's like 10 minutes a day. Yeah, exactly that, mate. Exactly just try and make it part of the routine.
So there's an interesting part of what you just said there is kind of like obviously seeing the colors and stuff like that. And you mentioned, some meditations did see colors and had those kind of experiences, the kaleidoscope, and that is common. But there was also meditations that didn't. Now, everybody's experience is vastly different. I remember while you were just saying that a meditation retreat I went to about 7 or 8 years ago, and there was a guy on it, and he must have been maybe his early 60s. And at this point, I would think I was about 22, 21. There was a workshop that we had to do with on this retreat, and I had to work with him, and we hadn't spoken to each other on the retreat at all, and because on paper the two of us were complete different opposite ages and interests and stuff like that, and I think that's probably why we were put together. And his name is Michael, and he had I was like, how did you come across meditation? And he had he'd been rowing on the River Thames, had a heart attack, rolled over on his boat, his rower, and fell into the water. And a stranger walking along the Thames seen it, swam in, pulled him to the side. He was pronounced dead on the scene, came back to life. They resuscitated him, and after that he was like, I fucking no idea, had a complete out-of-body experience. He goes, my life since that point has completely changed. Actually a really good podcast person to get onto. I don't have his details, but we'll find him. But I remember chatting to him and kind of be like, whoa, what on earth? And I said, mate, you must have had some insane experiences in your meditation. He was like, nope. I was like, you've seen colours or sensations in your body? I went, nope, never. He goes, I've been doing it for about 25 years now. And he goes, I meditate twice a day, every day. He goes, come out of it, I'm calmer, more composed. He goes, I'm a better husband, I'm a better dad, I'm a better boss, I'm a better employee, I'm a better friend. That was a big enough investment for me. He goes, that's enough for me. And he goes, just come to this meditation retreat, just kind of tops that up in a big way. And I was like, that's interesting. And that was a big point for me where I just kind of went, that's that for some people that's enough. You know, it doesn't need to be the whole kaleidoscopes and spiritual experiences, you know, because some people do come in and being like, I was meditating there and I was on a different fucking planet and there's a pink unicorn floating through, and I'm like, yep, okay. And someone sitting next to them thinking like, I couldn't stop thinking about my fucking work emails, you know. So everybody's experience is vastly different within that. So yeah.
So for someone who hasn't tried meditation, obviously you run courses here. Is it something that you would recommend if you're a complete newbie just trying yourself? And how would you advise someone to maybe just give it a go?
That's a very good point, actually, whether they go and try it themselves or come to someone like myself. Yeah, very good point. I would recommend, so I do a free session. This is not me plugging myself in, but I would totally. Yeah. So I always recommend to people to come along to that first and just try it out, right? And within that, I was talking to somebody about this yesterday. If I had two people come in to learn meditation, and I had someone who had tried every single meditation app, been on every meditation class, right? And someone who had never even heard of meditation until 5 minutes ago, you would think that my prime student would be the one who's got vast amounts of experience, and that's incorrect. It's the one who's like never heard of meditation, because they're coming without attachments and other practices and things that they think meditation is, and I can mold them into the perfect meditator from there very easily. Whereas someone who's got like a little bit from this technique and a little bit from that and read a bit in this book and heard a bit on that YouTube and heard on that podcast, they come to it and they've got to unlearn some things to kind of get into that kind of space just as quickly, but it takes a little bit more kind of challenges as such. So I always say to people, come to a free session, try it out first, and then from there you can kind of go in the right way. The thing is with the wellness industry and meditation, it's a very unregulated industry and profession, and unfortunately, I mean, I get fucking ads for them all the time, you know. You can be a qualified meditation teacher for £7, do this online course, and people do that and then go and teach meditation, and they don't really know meditation themselves. They've got no experience of it. Whereas I went through a very intensive 3 years of teacher training and vast amounts of meditation retreats previous to that as well, so that the experience there is there as such. So it's kind of like, you know, if you wanted to go to the gym, you could probably go to the gym and work it out for yourself. Yeah.
I guess that's the perfect analogy. Yes, you could go to the gym and go, oh, well, I'm going to have a go on this rower, or I'm going to have a go on these weights, but not actually know the best way to use that equipment.
Exactly that. You can go to the gym, like if we all think about the first time we went to the gym, right? You walked in, you're like, oh my God, what am I doing here, right? And you kind of like, oh, and you kind of like, you go up to the equipment and it looks like, honestly, that fucking astronaut's equipment. And you're like, what on earth is that thing, right? And you sit on it and you're not too sure if you're sitting back front or what am I doing here? And you read the little sticker on the side on the subtle way, just making sure that so it doesn't look obvious that you have no idea what you're doing. And what you end up doing is you end up going to the treadmill or the rower, because you know that. That's pretty basic, isn't it? Yeah. And you do that, and you could probably do that for a week, and you're not really going to notice any kind of benefits. Like if say you're trying to put muscle on or lose weight, you're not really seeing any benefits. But then if you went into the gym and went straight up to a personal trainer or up to the reception and went, I want a personal trainer to help me do X, Y, and Z, that personal trainer is going to go, right, let's do this, right? And they take you through a workout, and within like two weeks and a couple sessions, all of a sudden you are getting the results you want to see. You're getting the productivity from the exercise. You're getting confidence to go in there and do what you know what to do. And the next thing is like your results just start fucking spiking big time from there. And that's the same for meditation. You can go to the apps. You can go to YouTube. You can go to all the bits and bobs, and you'll be on the treadmill. You'll be on the rower, right? But when you really want to kind of see some actual results, get a teacher. So yeah, that's me.
Okay, so I am a complete newbie, and I've seeked you out on your website, which is
CamCooneyMeditation.com.
And I've seen that you do free classes. What can I expect in terms of what's going to happen and how long does that last?
So this free session is called Your First Session, and it's purely a free intro session. It's a good chance for people to come into the studio, to see the studio, meet myself, see my style of teaching, but most importantly, try out Vedic meditation, which is a very cool and a very specialized style of meditation, as I've explained. Yeah. And within that, they will get to try it out and see if it is for them. And from there, that's when they can then decide afterwards if they want to do the Learn to Meditate course, which is...
How long does that intro session last?
So that intro session is about 45 minutes to 1 hour, and that can be done online as well, because I've got students all around the world, and the same applies within that. And after that session, they can then go on to the Learn to Meditate course, which is a 3-day course. It's about 6 hours spread over the 3 days, and within that, I am giving them their own personalized mantra, training them in Vedic meditation, but most importantly, giving them a very rounded scope of meditation. Day 2 is with the rest of the group, and that's when we start to kind of like fine-tune the technique. We go into very much the Western approach to meditation, which is very important to understand what stress is, how that physically impacts the body, and most importantly, how meditation unwinds that. So then they can kind of start to see the benefits of having this in my day-to-day. And then on day 3 is where we dive into very much the Eastern sides of meditation, spirituality, different states of consciousness, how to access that state of fulfillment internally. But the most important part of it all, how to integrate that into our day-to-day life. And then once people kind of go from there, that's when they can kind of join my weekly group meditation classes and therefore continue to grow their practice.
Cool. And on the back of that, do you want to talk briefly about your app that you are in the process of? Well, I've just seen in the other room, yeah, it's like NASA in there. I will let you talk about your new app.
It's like NASA in there. It feels like fucking NASA in my head trying to do this app, honestly. So I'll give you a little bit of a background story. So I actually had an app, a meditation app, 2 years ago, right? And so it happens in my community. They go on to do group meditations after they've done the Learn to Meditate course. And I created this app, and my developers, I had 5 of them. They were Ukrainian. And was this around the time I actually taught you? Must have been just after. Yeah, it would have been actually. So the developers were Ukrainian, and we were, working day and night to get it up and running. It was going to be amazing. Now, with any app, there's always bugs, there's always glitches, there's jumping bits at the beginning. So I knew there was going to be this period when I first got my students onto the app that it'll be touch and go and a little bit working this out, what works, what doesn't work. Anyway, we put it in for launch date, 22nd of February, 2022, and I thought, well, that's brilliant. The stars have aligned for the angelic numerical openings of this.
I don't know what's coming.
If you know that date, you know that date. Yeah. So we launched it at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I think it was about 8 o'clock. Putin had invaded Ukraine, and I'd gone from, the idea was to have 5 developers on a 24/7 rota call as such, and if there was an issue on the app, students would voice that with myself, and I would go straight to the developers and be like, X, Y, and Z is wrong, bang, done, fixed. Come back to the student, there we go, all done, no issues. 4 hours, 5 hours, I had the app, and the next thing was they all got split up. They some had gone into different countries, some had fled their home city. They're all from Kiev, and had the app for about 6 weeks, and many points of that had no developers. It got to about the 7-8 week mark where I just had students coming to me, and it was just so many glitches and bugs and stuff, and it just was not working. And my students were paying me for that. I remember calling or messaging developers, and I was like, guys, we need to have like an honest conversation. It was just such a hard conversation for me to have. And I remember having a Zoom call with them, and there was 2 or 3 of them. There was 3 of them that joined the call initially, and it ended with 2 of them because one had to leave because there was something going on. While I'm on the call with these 2, saying like, guys, I really appreciate, but I cannot continue going forward with this because it's affecting my business, and I know you guys are in a much worse situation, and I'm coming from a compassionate place here. While I'm having that conversation with them, alarms are going off outside, sirens are going off, and they're like, we need to go, and we'll call you back in a moment, like when we know everything's okay. Call me back like half an hour later, and they're like, right, okay, yeah, no, we completely understand where you're coming from. We think it's probably the right idea to do, and had to scrap that. And that massively impacted my business, and also my mental health, a big time on that. I was just like, what the hell's going on? The cost of living had just gone up. Everything was just a bit of a clusterfuck in the world at that point. And it took me a good probably 8 months to really come back around from that. I was like, right, I'm going to take a step back from doing the apps. or making an app for a while, and around Christmas time there, I was like, right, I'm going to step back into that 2024. This is one I'm going to do, and I'm going to do it in my way, so I'm not relying on, other people in any sense if anything kind of goes wrong. And I'm in the process of making that day and night at the moment. I'm in here in the studio today for a 14-hour day where I'll be creating the app in between sessions and everything else, and I'm putting in the hard work over the last couple months, but it will pay off big time in about 4 weeks time when the app comes out, and I can move my community across to that, and it just be a lot more efficient and the next step.
Well, we will put a link on we have a link tree for the podcast. We will put on your website, which presumably when it's up and running in 4 weeks, we'll have a link to the app and what have you. So yes, we will link that up. Well, I think we're coming to the end now, but I suppose before we go, other than meditation, is there anything that you do or you find beneficial in terms of just relaxing, or for want of a better expression, zenning out? Is there anything other than, or is meditation, I'll say enough, but is there anything else that you do to relax?
Interesting question. I don't think I've had that come back to me. Anything to relax? I think what's quite important for myself is, yes, meditation every day, twice a day, every day. However,
how long is that for?
20 minutes each day. 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes at night. Yeah, so 40 minutes in total each day. But I think what's quite important for me is getting my body moving at some point, exercising, drinking tons of water. I'm a big one for that. My girlfriend is always she goes, got a headache, and I'm like, have you drank enough water? The classic. There's lots of things, and I think they all kind of supplement each other. It's like building a muscle. Like, when you're building muscle, you don't just build one muscle. You've got to build the muscles around it to also strengthen it. And I think those, when it comes to meditation for zenning out, as you kind of say, I think there's got to be other bits and pieces in there that are going to help supplement when I am doing the act of meditation, that I'm getting the full benefits from it, so that I don't need to.
You mentioned sleep earlier.
Yes, definitely prioritizing sleep. Most recently, actually, I started mouth taping and wearing an eye mask when I sleep, and that has hugely helped as well for my energy levels.
What is mouth taping?
So mouth taping is quite literally what it says on the tin, getting a piece of a tape, so it's a special tape you can get for this, and you tape your lips together when you sleep, right? Sounds absolutely mad. This is an actual thing, yeah, very much an actual thing. Try it out. I'll show you that afterwards. I'm sure there's probably a few listeners that go, yeah, I know about that. So yeah, it's quite literally, it looks like a little bit of a plaster, right? And you stick it over your lips, and the first sensation of it is a bit like, what the hell? And fall asleep like that. And what this does is, because naturally, as your mouth opens and you're sleeping, that is your oxygen intake and many other health benefits to this, is why you wake up the next day feeling a bit like, a bit groggy here and a bit kind of slower and a bit lethargic, whereas breathing through your nose has different health benefits. At first, I was a bit of a fuck off. What even is that? Yeah, totally. And I was exactly the same, right? And I actually thought, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna give this a shot. I'm not gonna say anything to anybody. I'm gonna grab this. And I just went on Amazon and got some mouth tape, what it says on the tin. Tried it, and literally the next day, I woke up like tons of energy, and it preserved all the way through the day. Now, not to say that I'm a lethargic kind of person, but I did notice, and I was like, is that a bit of a placebo? I'll keep doing it, right? Did it for a few more days, same effect. And I was like, this is interesting. And I thought, right, I'm going to stop. So I stopped taking, doing the mouth tape. Naturally, a few days later, I was like, I was hitting that kind of like 2 o'clock slump. And I was like, okay, interesting. I was waking up with a little bit of I wouldn't say a headache, but just a bit like kind of groggy in that kind of sense. Okay, do the mouth tape again. Stop doing the mouth tape and play around with it, see how it goes. And I noticed that by having my mouth taped, it did make a difference in my day-to-day the next day. So that has been one thing that I've recently tried. Yeah, a few other bits and pieces. I'm always kind of like trying them out because it's important for me as a meditation teacher. I taught thousands of people, and people are always coming through asking me questions, and I need to have an element of experience within that to kind of recommend things to people. And believe me, I've tried some things and gone, absolute load of shite. Whereas some things I've gone, yeah, that's definitely. Mouth tapes, definitely an interesting one. I think if you're definitely a snorer, and I certainly am a snorer, it's definitely a benefit. The eye mask as well. That was also something I was like, whatever. It has made a subtle difference, I would say, to the point where now, for the last 2-3 weeks that I've been doing it, we've been doing it for a little bit longer, I look forward to getting into bed, put my mask on, put my mouth tape on. So yeah, give it a shot, mate.
I will. Well, this is part of the reason we're doing the podcast, is to explore different avenues of, and like you say, what might work for somebody doesn't necessarily work for somebody else, but just try and explore these different avenues. So again, I'll make a pledge. Paul doesn't know. So I co-host with Paul. If you haven't listened to the podcast before, Paul is rehearsing today, but I'm going to make a pledge on behalf of me and Paul. We will, if for no other reason, I can take a picture and post it on social media of Paul with his mouth taped up and give it a go. I am a snorer, big snorer.
Yeah, you look like a snorer.
Just because I'm about 18 stone. So yeah, we will give it a go. Cam, thank you so much for giving up your time. I know you're a busy man. We've tried to organise this for a while. It's been an absolute pleasure. You're a legend, and thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you, mate. No, thank you, mate. Thank you for inviting me on. I've thoroughly enjoyed the chat.
Good times. Is that it?
That's it, mate.
Cool.
Spot on.
So, once again, Paul hasn't bothered to listen to the episode.
I'm just going to caveat that with something here. We were supposed to be recording this, what we're doing now, tomorrow. So I was going to listen tonight, so I'd be prepared for tomorrow. And you, my friend, brought the recording forward 12 hours.
We can't listen tomorrow night because Scotland are getting pumped by Germany. So
well,
yes. So a very interesting backstory about his journey to meditation. I have to say that, yeah, someone gifted me one of his sessions. It was one of his intro sessions where you go for like a couple of hours for 3 days on the trot. And again, me being me, was slightly skeptical, but thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was very good. I found it very relaxing. You know, if nothing else, you know, you're sat still and just relaxing for 5, 10, 15 minutes. And the first time I think we did it, I was like, how long was that? And he was 20 minutes. I'm like, bullshit. And then looked at my watch and realized, I mean, you know, just sitting still for 20 minutes is quite an achievement for me. Yeah. I mean, there was times I was doing it where I do see sort of kaleidoscopic, is that a word? Mm-hmm. Kaleidoscopic sort of colors in front of my eyes or under my eyelid. I don't know quite what but yeah, I do see colors and vivid images and what have you. And sometimes I see absolutely nothing. I'm just sat there with, but it's, you know, whatever you see, I do find it very, very relaxing. And I think it's something I definitely need to do more of.
Yeah. And I think no matter what you see or how long you sit still for, it's always going to be a beneficial thing to do. If it just gets you to relax and switch off just for the shortest amount of time, but it might be enough to just sort of, you know, center you and make you feel good before you then become, you know, all fidgety again.
Do you get fidgety a lot, Paul?
I'm always a bit fidgety, I think. Yeah, I'm always like drumming, you know, like sort of tapping out rhythms and things like that.
I should have been a drummer, I think. When I was diagnosed and we were in lockdown, a friend of mine lent me their drum kit.
Oh, that's cool.
And we did a bit of drumming. One of the things he did mention was the sleep tape.
Yes, the sleep tape. I've never heard of this.
Now I'm going to hold up this packet here. So it says on the packet, longevity. Cam swears by it. He says it's a total game changer. And so I was telling Dr. Jan about this. I said, oh, he's talking about this sleep tape and it's supposed to be really, really good. And it was only when she went, well, what's it supposed to do? That I went, well, it makes you breathe through your nose. Yeah, but what are the benefits of that? I'm like, I don't know really, but it sounds good, doesn't it? So I've bought some tape. And it's basically, for those of you who don't know, it is like a plaster that you stick over your mouth and it forces you to breathe through your nose. And I've looked on their website to see what are the benefits of mouth taping. So it allegedly reduces snoring, enhanced nasal breathing, obviously because you can't breathe through your mouth. So
that's par for the course when you've got your mouth taped shut, isn't it?
Yeah, you can use your ears. Nasal breathing. It says nasal breathing is associated with various health benefits, including improved oxygenation, better filtration of airborne particles, and potential support for dental health. Now, improved oxygen intake. By promoting nasal breathing, mouth taping may optimize oxygen intake during sleep. Now, do you want to just...
Yeah, except I would argue, I put it to you, that if you didn't have your mouth taped shut and you could breathe through your mouth and your nose, you'd get more oxygen intake than just through your nostrils. Right?
Well, back at you, sister. Nasal breathing allows the air to be filtered, humidified, and warmed before reaching the lungs, potentially contributing to better respiratory efficiency and supporting immune system function.
I see. So the nostrils act like a filtration system, whereas if you just
Yeah.
breathe through your mouth, you're breathing in all the
Suck it in,
nasties.
yeah. Dental health benefits. Okay. I'm not going to read all this out, the whys and wherefores. Increased focus on breathing patterns. Mouth taping encourages individuals to pay attention to their breathing patterns. Well, surely not if they're asleep.
Yeah, it's just a reflex, isn't it? So you're not really...
Potential sleep quality enhancement. Some users of mouth taping report an improvement in overall sleep quality. Okay. And complementary approach to sleep hygiene. What?
Sleep hygiene?
Yeah, I mean, you wash your armpits before you go to bed. Listen, I've bought a packet of these.
Yeah.
And I am going to give them a go.
Mm-hmm.
And I love Cam Cooney to bits, but that sounds like a load of horse shit.
Do you know?
Put that on the... But the thing is, it says on here, live longer, live better. That's quite the claim on the packet. Live longer, live better, just by sticking some tape on your gob.
I mean, that's... How can you quantify that as well? Do you know what I mean?
Is that like, smart tested?
If you use mouth tape and then, you pass away when you're 80, who's to say you wouldn't have passed away at 80 if you didn't use mouth tape? There's no way of knowing that, is there?
No. And I think I did say that if you go on the frequently asked questions on the website, there aren't any. Presumably because people can't speak because they're covered their mouth in tape. I have to say, I have tried. You may have noticed that the packet is open.
I did notice that, yeah.
I have tried it once.
Mm-hmm. And?
I felt no benefit whatsoever. However, that was mainly because within 30 seconds of taping my mouth, one of the children had had a little accident and was calling. And of course, and I can't respond to them as they're calling daddy, daddy. So I took I tried to carefully take the tape off so I could deal with said child, dealt with said child, went back to bed, struck over my lips. And I kid you not, within 10 minutes, the other one had spilled milk all over her duvet and was calling. So I had to go and deal with that, by which time I've gone, forget it. And then I think Gemma came in and forgot I had any mouth tape on and started asking me questions. So after the third time, I'm going, which is mouth tape language for I've got bloody mouth tape on. And I've gone, do you know what? Just forget it. So I tried it once, but I don't think it's conducive. A, if your partner forgets that you've got it on, or B, you have young children.
So what you're saying, Lee, is 100% of the time you've tried mouth taping, it didn't work.
That is a statistic, yes.
I mean, that's how you can spin a statistic in your favor.
I tried mouth tape.
You were so stressed you couldn't get to sleep after putting the mouth tape on.
Get to sleep. People just more people.
Just ended up with sore lips. If
trying to communicate with me whilst I couldn't speak.
Well, do you know what? In the sense of trying to have a wide range here of testing, I'll get some as well.
I don't think I'm going to use all these.
Well, don't go. No. Don't you go to the effort of posting them.
I'm not going to post them. I'm seeing you next Saturday.
Oh, God, yeah. Forgot about that.
So that was Cam Cooney. We've put his deets on the LinkedIn tree.
Not to be confused with LinkedIn. That's a different thing.
What did I say?
LinkedIn tree.
It's not that. What's it called? Linktree. Sorry, this is why you do the.
This is why I do the housekeeping, isn't it?
That is true. I'll let you mention that on the housekeeping bit. I've overstepped the mark there. Oh,
Lee Crompton's housekeeping. Oh, he gets it wrong.
Oh, how very dull. You can't get any old Tom, Dick, and Harry coming up doing housekeeping.
You can't. No. I mean, still nobody's got in touch with you about your quiz work. Do you know what I mean?
Haven't
I
they?
checked the emails.
Have you checked the
Nothing.
emails?
Nothing. It's criminal, but you just got to keep reaching for the stars, little guy.
What? Sorry?
Slugger.
What a waste of my talents.
Yeah. Would you want to do the housekeeping this week?
Nah, balls to it.
Okay.
But what's the point? What is the point of doing the housekeeping? What you're basically wasting everyone's time. You're wasting your time doing it. You're wasting the listeners' time listening to it because nobody gets in touch anyway.
Okay, I won't do it this week then.
Nah, bollocks. We're not doing it this week. Don't do it. I'll just
Alright.
play the jingle, right? And
Mhm.
then I'll put in a tumbleweed sound effect,
Okay.
right? Because it's fucking pointless.
Well, on that bombshell,
Bye.
see ya.
Thanks, listeners. We know you're listening, and I know you can't be bothered to get in contact.
Jesus. I think it's because all our listeners have already logged on and, you know what I mean, followed us and stuff. So,
or take their mouths shut.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But this will be the 1 week where we get new listeners and they won't know where to find us now because we haven't done it.
Good, just do it then. Just if it makes you happy, Paul, just do it.
Oh, this is housekeeping. Oh, how very lovely.
If you want to send us an email, you can.
If you want to.
If you want to, on sliceofmindcake@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram if you search for @mindcake podcast, and you can find us on Facebook if you search for Mindcake. I was going to say, if you go to our socials, you can find a link to the link tree that has all the links to the episodes that we've done so far, to all the websites of the guests we've had on so far, and other helpful mental health type things.
And even our YouTube channel where somebody has noticed that you pick your nose.
I pick my nose, do I?
There's a moment where it cuts to you and you just finished picking your nose, which I must have missed when I was doing the editing. So I do apologise.
Okay. Well, I didn't think this was ever going to be on a YouTube channel. So
That's true. I mean, I'm reclining in my chair now. I don't think I'm even in shot, am I?
No.
No, because again, we're not really set up for this sort of thing. I do apologise. I mean, you'd think maybe it's because maybe I'm just a bit crabby because I've been eating vegetables.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
Yeah, don't eat vegetables, kids, because you get grumpy. Night, Paul.
Good night, Lee.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Let's start a podcast about our mental health for no good reason why. Let's call it Mind Cake.
That's a cynical episode, that wasn't it?
Was a bit, yeah. This is possibly the worst episode we've ever done. I don't know what's happened with my head today.
Yeah, and I'm tired after lifting heavy rugs.
Oh, don't tell me about it. How big was your rug today?
I had 3 rugs. One was 6 feet by 9 feet, and the other 2 were like 5 by 7.
Nobody cares, Paul. I was just trying to
Well, you asked me.
I know, I'm just trying to...
Just edit this out and let's go bed.
Right, okay.
Separate beds.
Separate house.
Separate houses. Oh, dear.
We're supposed to be getting better at this.
I know, right?